Hey everyone, it's Solo here, and I'm going to get right into it. There's a massive change coming to LCS that you love and know. We're going to be doing a merger with the South American regions. And so, what does that look like? Is LCS dying? Is it thriving? What's going to be the future? Well, I've done all the research, so you don't have to worry your pretty little head. I'll tell you what's going on. And although a lot of this is kind of still up in the air, and there's going to be like more specifics to come from Riot, I can give you kind of like a solid breakdown of what to expect from the 2025 season and moving forward. So to start out, let's talk about, what is LCS going to look like? What is the structure? And it's going to be similar to what they're going to do with the Brazilian teams. And first of all, it's going to be the Northern Conference, and Brazil will be the Southern Conference. And we will have 8 teams, but we are going to lose 2 LCS teams. Who they'll be, to be determined. I mean, we can make some, everybody's got like, oh, maybe it should be this team, maybe this should be that team. There will probably be a team that surprises you because there's always one random team, like maybe 100 Thieves, who seems like they're doing really well, might bow out. Anyways, 6 teams are going to remain. So what happens to the other 2 slots? Well, we're going to be bringing in one Latin American team from the LLA. Who that will be also needs to be determined. Brazil will also get a LLA team coming into their region. And we'll also have our first like relegations type in many, many years. We're going to get a team from the tier 2 system, the amateur system for NA, which is amazing in my opinion, because I'm always the biggest fan that tier 2 systems having that like ladder to LCS is just so paramount for esports as a whole and the growth, because you have to give the kids something to look up to. They got to be able to think there's an actual path. So I think that's really big. So we'll have that as like a guest spot, which is what it's labeled as. And that team will come in. They'll be the 8th team, and they'll compete just like a normal LCS team, but they will have to like re-earn their spot every split. So let's talk about the splits. We're going to get into a 3-split system, which means there'll be another international tournament. And the first one, and the new international tournament will be the first one of the season. Going to split 1, there will be competition between the North Conference and the South Conference to determine who will be the team into the new like type of international tournament. So there will be some cross conference play. To what degree, we're unsure. It can be as big as, maybe it'll be 12 teams and 6 from each region and make it a mega playoffs. It might just be the champion from the North Conference versus the champion from the the South Conference goes in and they play for the spot into the international. Nobody knows. I hope there'll be a lot of cross competition, because I think what's the point of merging if we're not going to play against the other team? Fan bases going at it, building rivalries. That's like the fun part of kind of having this more international blend between regions. So there'll be that new international tournament, 5-team tournament, just a bunch of best of 5s. It's fine. I think it's a little disappointing that they didn't focus more on having like LPL and LCK having their own tournament, and EU plus, the new Americas having their tournament, because I think, let's be honest, LPL and LCK dominate the internationals, and it becomes kind of hard to watch, especially if it's another part of the year becomes them dominating. We're getting into split 2. Now this will be pretty much completely segregated. We're gonna have Northern Conference will send a team, whoever the champion of that will be. The Southern Conference will send a team, whatever of their champions. And then we'll have the normal MSI. MSI will be a lot later this year because, it's going to be a lot more spread out. It's going to be in July. So this will be a pretty long year of competitive for the people who are doing really, really well. Going into split 3, we'll have an America's Regional Championship. And it will determine the top 3 teams to go to Worlds. So we're going to have one team from North Conference going to Worlds and one team from South Conference guaranteed going to Worlds. So this is the first time we'll have a Brazilian, CB LOL team actually playing in the at the Worlds like group stage or Swift stage as it is, instead of just being a kind of knockout of play-ins. So that's really exciting. I mean, that's the whole big thing, and the benefit for Brazil League is they will finally get international competition for their team, which is really cool. And as well, the 3rd team to go to Worlds will be some blend of cross competition between North and South Conference. which most likely will be the LCS team or another LCS team just because of the level competition will bring. But hopefully over time, the Brazilian league will improve and improve, and that'll be like a very contentious spot. And then they'll go into Worlds, and Worlds will be it's a 17 team league, so there'll be like one best of 5 to determine and knock it down to 16 teams. So what does this mean? What's the good parts? What's the bad parts? I think the obvious downside for LCS is we are losing slots at MSI. We're losing our 2nd seed at MSI, and we are losing a 3rd seed at Worlds. But I mean, at the trade-off of getting this newer fan base in and maybe building up some cross competition and more longevity. So I think in the short term, it's going to hurt because I don't think the Brazilian teams are going to necessarily like blow anyone's mind when they do get into these competitions. But I think the longevity of this is really important, and sharing the fan base is going to mean a lot. And I think the biggest plus of this, like I said before, is the fact that we are getting some type of relegations. Now, it might be a little bit weird if you have this guest spot and we get a tier 2 team coming in for LCS, and they, for instance, win. Let's just say they win Split 2 and they go to MSI and they compete and they come back and they lose the relegation match. I think that scenario will be quite strange and really, really like, I mean, I'm curious how that will affect things. And it's not out of the possibility. I mean, especially now that we're going to have, an even more saturated group of players. And we already saw like Dignitas picking up all these like really, really strong players. There is a world where a team can come in as an amateur team and get a solid roster that could compete for a championship spot. So that would be really interesting to see. But I love the fact that we're finally getting some tier 2 love. I hope they bring in even more slots in the future. I think that's the biggest, plus to a region is when your tier 2 scene is really thriving. But that's it for now. We'll see more details in the future with specifics. But that is like a good grasp of just what it's going to look like. And what to expect as far as the structure moving forward. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the new region, and if it's good, if it's bad, any of the pluses and anything I missed down below.